is Friday, April the 12th. The NBA playoffs 2019 starts tomorrow, with the earliest game being Nets and 76ers at 1:30 p.m. And this playoffs is going to be absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. I want to break down a few of the matchups because there are some teams you got to watch out for. I know everyone's, Golden State and Toronto. Golden State and Toronto. Don't be so sure. Maybe in the West, be sure, but not in the East. And I'm going to tell you why. First off, Boston Celtics are still in the playoffs. They're not first seed. They're not even third seed. They are fourth seed. Did anyone ever expect Boston to be fourth seed, really, though? You remember the beginning of the offseason last season? People were really predicting Golden State and Boston, especially when Boston took Cleveland to a Game 7. People actually thought Boston was going to beat Cleveland last season to make it to the finals, but, of course, LeBron James showed up and did what he did. But, the beginning of the season, they were heavily talked about. People saw the team. This is what happened. People saw the team without Kyrie Irving and without Gordon Hayward playing, which isn't a bad thing. They saw him without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward playing, and they were hooping. Jason Tatum showed up. Jaylen Brown was showing up. Marcus Smart was showing up. Terry Rozier hit some big threes, especially in that Game 7, if you remember. But the role players were showing up when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward were out. Being the players, Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, that Boston actually picked up and said, hey, this is going to be our team revolving around these two players. Now, you fast forward to this season, specifically right now, the fourth seed. They've had some struggles. I think it's because, Kyrie Irving's a ball-dominant player. We all knew that even when he wasn't on the Celtics, even with LeBron James, we knew he was a ball-dominant player. But it worked because really, him and LeBron James were the only ones doing the primary scoring on that team. Two veterans. Now you're in Boston. It's a way, way different situation. You have all these younger players that you're trying to coach up. If you remember, Kyrie Irving had to call up and apologize to LeBron because he didn't know. He didn't know the pressure would be this crazy. He just didn't. He really didn't. Gordon Hayward's injury, that shocked. If you remember, that was opening night against against Cleveland, like first quarter, right? First quarter. Not half, not second quarter. He broke his leg. It doesn't make sense, and it's still hurting the team. If you remember, before Gordon Hayward came to Boston in Utah, he was averaging 21 points per game. Right now, he's at 11.5. He cut his points per game in half. Boston was really counting on Gordon Hayward and Kyrie. Honestly, I don't think Boston fans, me being one of them, I'm not comfortable with putting all the trust in the world on Jason Tatum, insert Terry Rozier, insert Marcus Smart. He's injured. I'm not feeling comfortable putting all of the pressure on them. I would think that Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, before Gordon Hayward got injured, would get that pressure. Like, I don't know. Like, they were gonna see these veterans, and the veterans were going to lead them to where they need to go. That was the initial plan. Like, they're playing Indiana. So this is a pretty good. If you want to play a team that you're gonna start, trying stuff with, and Boston still doesn't have the chemistry down 100%. You want to do it against Indiana. That's who you want to do it against. Keep in mind, pay attention. Pay attention to how much pressure they put on the Jaylen Browns, on the Gordon Haywards, on the Al Horfords. Al Horford is a really big piece of this team as well. Let's see. I'll say Al Horford is like the Andre Iguodala of the Celtics, and that he'll take the young players under his wing. He doesn't have a huge ego. He's not ball dominant. He does what he is paid to do. He plays defense well. He's a good passer for a big man. Not the most athletic guy. He does his part, and it helps. He can knock down a few perimeter shots. It helps. We'll see, though, because they're playing Indiana, who's, of course, missing their star player. But it's still a team you can't take as a joke. Bogdanovich is averaging 18 points. That's the highest of his career on 49.7% field goal shooting. He's 42.5% at the three-point line, highest of his career, highest shooting of his career. Miles Turner's averaging 13 and 7 rebounds as well. They have some playmakers. Indiana has some playmakers. But of course, Boston should win the series. Okay? Boston should win the series. I don't know. If anything, I'll say Indiana gets one game, maybe two. I mean, it all depends on Boston's role players, really. Because really what we were expecting Gordon Hayward to get was at least average like 20. At least average 20. But things went south very, very quickly. I thought Boston would be first seed or not first seed. No one thought, who really thought Toronto would be this good? We knew Toronto would be good, but did we think they would be this good, better than Boston even? No, I don't think anyone saw that. Like, I would hate to see a second-round loss by Boston with the talent they have. When you break it down, Boston, I don't know, it's close. I'll say this. Boston is just as good talent-wise on paper than any other team in the league besides Golden State. Of course, Golden State's their talent's ridiculous, but Boston is as talented as any other team in the league besides Golden State. On paper, it's crazy. They got the second best point guard in the league. They have a dog in Jason Tatum. Al Horford is a great big man. They have Jaylen Brown, who can jump out the gym and get to the rim. An okay perimeter shooter from three, not so much, but he can get to the rim. High flyer. You got Terry Rozier, a dog defensively too. Marcus Smart is injured. But this team is stacked. This team is very stacked. I would hate to see keep in mind, I would hate to see a second round loss. Okay, let's move on. OKC versus Portland. This series is going to be very interesting. Pay attention to the people who are counting Portland out. Portland's going to get swept. Portland doesn't stand a chance. Portland really flew under the radar this year. I don't think anyone. I think the most media coverage Portland got was when Nurkic injured himself. That's the most media attention they ever got, was when Nurkic injured himself. Which I mean, they have a really stacked team. But let's get into it. This is going to be an interesting series in that both teams are they're revolved around the duo of whether you want to say Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum or Westbrook and Paul George. Let's say this. Even if you cancel those two duos out, the supporting cast around OKC is just a bit better than the Trailblazers. Just a bit better. But keep in mind players like Seth Curry. He's going to be huge. He's going to be a huge factor in how these games go. Players like Seth Curry. Who else do they have? Jerkic is injured, man. Zach Collins. Hey, he's been known to make some plays. I mean, if you're Portland, Nurkic's injury really, really hurts. It really hurts because that's a big that you need, especially a big that you need to go up against Adams when it comes to rebounding. I think OKC second in rebounding, like they're second in rebounding. You need a big that's going to help stop that. At least, if not stop it, lower their rebound percentages. On the other end, Westbrook has to watch two things. Everyone's raving about. I love Russell Westbrook. I think he's the third. Best point guard in the league. I'll give him that. But he needs to watch two things. One, his shot selection. Stop it. His shot selection. He's never been known as the smartest NBA player. I'll say that. Aggressive, explosive. Yeah, but when it comes to just pure shot selection, Westbrook sometimes has a way of taking just bad shots. Really bad shots. Like, not good shots. Like, pull up from half court Steph Curry shots when his team is down like 10. That's not what he needs. So, one, he has to watch his shot selection because if you're taking bad shots, it's going to be like another game like Houston and Golden State Game 7. It's going to be another one of those last season. Y'all remember that? Playoff record for missed threes. Okay, so he doesn't need that. He needs to watch his shot selection. Two, he needs to watch how he plays defense. What do you mean by that? He cannot get in foul trouble early on. No foul trouble early on. None. The way Russell Westbrook plays against the Utah Jazz, that sloppy game. I don't know which game it was. I don't know. I remember it was game 4, 5, 6. I don't know. That sloppy game against Utah where he got in foul trouble early and was basically trying to UFC wrestle all the other players. No. He cannot do that. Because OKC will lose if he does that. Because Russell Westbrook, along with Paul George, makes up for, I'd say, about 80-something% of OKC's offense. And if you have one of those players in foul trouble, you cannot win series with that. I don't even care if it's against the depleted Trailblazers. You cannot. You cannot. The last thing OKC wants to happen is for Westbrook to be in foul trouble and Paul George's shoulders is just more pressure dumped on his shoulders. He can ball, he can hoop, but he doesn't need Westbrook out. Not for stuff like that. For foul trouble, come on. No Westbrook. We don't need any technicals. We don't need any stupid fouls. That foul you had against Klay Thompson, where you basically shoulder checked him. We don't need any of that. We don't need you We don't need you wrestling with Damian Lillard like you were trying to wrestle with Ricky Rubio when you played the Jazz. We don't need any of that. We don't need any of that at all. But I'll tell you this: OKC would have an easier series against the Spurs or the Nuggets if they were to advance. If they were to advance and beat the Trailblazers, I see the Trailblazers until the end of the second round. I see the Trailblazers giving OKC the hardest time. A harder time than the Spurs and a harder time than the Nuggets. But they have to make it past the Trailblazers because a lot of people are sleeping on the Trailblazers. I have Damian Lillard as my fourth best point guard in the league. I have Steph, Kyrie, Russ, and then Damian Lillard. Don't sleep on CJ McCollum either. Kid can ball. But again, OKC should win this series. I give them to win the series in 6. Got to be careful, though. Westbrook has to be careful. He's getting at that time in his career where it's now or never. It's now or never. It's now or never for Westbrook. Honestly, you could say the same thing about Paul George because he decided to stick with OKC. You guys remember when he was I don't know if he was thinking about it, but rumors about him going to LA with LeBron? Didn't happen. He said, I'm sticking here. I'm staying here with Westbrook, and I'm putting my faith in Westbrook and my support cast in OKC. It's now or never for these superstars to even get to the finals. To even get there. Let's talk about the East more. Philly and Toronto are headed for a head-on collision for each other. Philly has Brooklyn first round. I like Brooklyn. Solid team. Not enough weapons, though. D'Angelo Russell, give him a few years. Give D'Angelo Russell a few years. He's going to be insane. He's going to be a dog. That boy's going to be he's already great. Give him a few years, he'll be all-star level. I promise you that. Pay attention to that. I don't know if he needs to stay with Brooklyn. I don't know if he needs to go somewhere else, but he'll dog. And Toronto has Orlando. Again, same thing with Orlando. Good, solid team. Doesn't have enough. Now, this would lead Philly and Toronto into meeting head-to-head in the second round. And what that's going to be like, okay, well, let's talk about Joel Embiid. Keep in mind, Joel Embiid is the most physically dominating big in the league. Now, careful. I didn't say the best big in the league. I didn't say the most elusive. I didn't say the fastest. That all goes to, I think, Giannis Antetokounmpo, my MVP candidate. But Joel Embiid, when you get him to the paint and he puts his back to his opponent and he's trying to get to the rim from there, he is the best center doing it right now. By a good amount. Very good passer, 2-4 size. He's averaging 27 and 14 rebounds. 27 points, 14 rebounds. Joel Embiid is playing out of his mind. Out of his mind. He reminds me of a prime Shaq. Let's stick with the team. Jimmy Butler, averaging 18, 4, and 5. Everyone on the team should know that Jimmy Butler is the closer, the big shot guy. Every team needs that guy too. While we're on that discussion, if you're in the playoffs right now and you haven't decided, hey, who's going to be our closer, who's going to be our big shot guy, then you're doing it wrong. OKC, everyone on OKC, the fans on OKC should know. Anyone who watches basketball should know Paul George is the closer on that team. Not Russell Westbrook, but it's Paul George. I mean, Jimmy Butler's the closer on that team. Sorry about that. Let's talk about OKC. Jimmy Butler is the closer. Decent passer, good defender, underrated defender, honestly. Jimmy Butler is an underrated defender. He's never really shot in it like an elite level from three, but that's okay. It's not his game. But you know whose game that is? JJ Redick. We're getting deep into this lineup. JJ Redick averaging 18 points per game this season. Most of his career. He's averaging the most points he's averaged his career. And it's a very, very quiet 18 points per game. A very quiet one. He's right at 40% from the three-point line. For them to have a good shot, though, he needs to be more like 43 to 45% from the three-point line in the series. He has to be. He's going to have to be. For the whole playoffs, JJ, you got to shoot between 43, no less than 43% from the three-point line. You have to. You have to. If you want to make a deep playoff run, that's what's going to happen. Ben Simmons, very, very underrated as well. You know what? JJ, yeah, Ben Simmons is very underrated as well. He's good at what he does. He's averaging 16, 7, and 8. Great passer. One, because he can see over the entire defense almost because of his height. They have an excellent team in Philadelphia. They can do a little bit of everything. They're a little physical. They got a little bit of, when it comes to shooting, they got some of that. They've acquired JJ. They do a little bit of everything. They move the ball well. They contest shots very well. And defend the paint, of course, with Joel Embiid very, very well. But if you go to Toronto, I want to start with Danny Green. He's only averaging 10 points, but on 45% shooting from the three. I'd rather have Danny Green shooting my playoff shots than JJ Redick. I can tell you that right now. Even though he's not averaging the same amount of points, if you're talking about just perimeter shooting from the three, I want Danny Green taking my shots. He's a little taller. He can shoot over people a little bit better. Was he 6'6"? Yeah. I give Danny Green that. And then, of course, we have Kawhi Leonard averaging 26 points per game. He's one of the best, if not, you know what? He might be the best two-way player. He's one of the best two-way players, if not the best two-way players in the league. Fundamentally sound. When was the last time you saw Kawhi Leonard take a bad shot? I'll wait. Like, really? When was the last time you saw Kawhi take a bad shot? It doesn't happen. Very fundamentally sound. Really good passer. Extremely good defender. Excellent defender. Marc Gasol, I'm looking at you. Marc Gasol, you're going to have to limit some of Joel Embiid's points in the paint. If y'all want to, like, I know y'all would be the favorites to win the series, but watch out for Joel Embiid because he's kind of unguardable in the paint. I'm not saying you're going to stop him from scoring in the paint. No one can stop him from scoring in the paint. But Marc Gasol, you and Siakam maybe are going to have to put in work and hold this man to, instead of 20, what's he averaging? Instead of maybe 26 or whatever he's averaging, hold him to maybe 20, maybe 18 points a game. Hold him to that. You're going to have to double him. You're going to have to double him. You're going to have to make Joel Embiid kick the ball out to either JJ or Jimmy Butler. You're going to have to double him. I'd rather have, if I'm playing the 76ers, I'd rather have Jimmy Butler or JJ Redick take a contested shot than they give the ball to Joel Embiid, because I won't even have to look at that. I know what's going to happen. Especially if it's in the paint. Like, he's really the next Shaq. But hey, I tell you this playoff run, that if they are to play, if I'll say win, because it's more than likely when Toronto and Philly meet, the series is going to revolve mostly around Joel Embiid. He's going to be the focus point. Everyone else has kind of proven how good or not good they are except Joel Embiid. He's got a lot to prove. I know we had a great regular season, but he's got a lot to prove. The way Joel Embiid plays on Philly this season will affect how deep they make it in the playoffs. But OKC and Golden State, I think OKC and Golden State is going to be the conference finals for the West. I'm saying it now. I think the Rockets make it past the Jazz. I think the Rockets make it past the Jazz. I mean, it's going to be a very, very interesting playoff run. Golden State, people are saying they look vulnerable. I don't think so. I mean, the first seed. People are talking about how Kevin Durant has 1 foot out the door, 1 foot in Golden State. I really don't even think that matters right now. People are talking about, KD might leave. It doesn't matter right now, though. As long as he's in a Golden State uniform and playing for Golden State and about to be entering the playoffs for Golden State, doesn't matter. Right now, doesn't matter. When the playoffs end, when the champion is crowned, then we can talk about it during the offseason. But right now, does it really matter? People are focused on whether or not KD is leaving next season, rather than focusing on how they're going to try to stop Kevin Durant this season on Golden State with Curry and Klay from winning another championship. I don't know. Priorities. Like, it's crazy. You know what else is crazy? Okay, I don't know how to call it in the East. You know what? I'll say this. Boston, Toronto, Milwaukee, and Philly are all equally talented. All of them. All of them. People, when people ask me who do you got coming out of the East, no one should have a clear answer for that. Hey, who do you got coming out the West? Golden State. Who's gonna beat Golden State's gonna win that? Who's gonna Golden State? The West is dominated by Golden State. We can assume this is common knowledge. Golden State out of the West, more than likely. But when you look at the East, it's not clear at all. And people are pretending it's clear when it's not. It's just not. I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah. People really didn't know Toronto would be this good, but they are. People really didn't know Milwaukee would be this good, but they really are. They really are. I thought Philly would be the best team in the East because I thought they were going to get LeBron. I thought that was going to happen. And now look, LeBron's not even in the playoffs. If LeBron went to Philly, I know he's focused on. He's probably focused on Hollywood. He's probably focused on all this other stuff. But if LeBron would have went to Philly, it's the best team in the league, possibly. I don't know, because Golden State's ridiculous. But if LeBron would have went to Philly, they're up there. They're going to the finals. I'll tell you that. LeBron stays in the East and goes to Philly. There's no one beating them. Nobody. No. The choice LeBron made to go to, man, I really don't want to talk about this, but the choice LeBron made to go to LA is so highly questionable. You know what? Let's talk about LeBron. Decides to go to LA. Now, the thing is, every single time LeBron was on a finals team, he was surrounded, if not surrounded, had shooters. If not fully surrounded by shooters, had shooters. He had shooters. In Cleveland, he had shooters. He had Kevin Love. He had Kyle Korver. J.R. Smith is a shooter. He's a bonehead. But he's a shooter. He can shoot. Dumbest plays you can think of probably come from JaVale McGee and J.R. Smith, but he can shoot. Kid can shoot. Miami Heat. He's got shooters. Ray Allen, one of the greatest top 5 shooters of all time, he's got him on his team. Stroking. Actually saved the finals for him that one game, that corner 3 hit against the San Antonio Spurs. That was Ray Allen. Guess who missed the three before Ray Allen hit that three? LeBron James. Chris Bosh with the rebound, kick it out to Ray Allen. You don't even got to look at what happens. You know what's going to happen. It's Ray Allen. So my question is, dude, oh my goodness. My question is, why is he now going to LA when he's not sure what he'll have? He really wasn't sure. He really wasn't sure. I think he thought this. I think he thought that the path to the finals would be just as easy in the West than it is in the East. But I'm like, you're LeBron, man. You had to have known it would have been harder. You had to have known it would have been harder. Look who's in the West with you. Like, let's say they even make the playoffs, like sneak into a 7th or 8th seed. Look who's in the playoffs with you. Golden State? Houston? OKC? Are you beating any of those teams? Denver? Shoot, the Spurs. Are you beating any of those teams in the series? Any of them. No, man, they'd lose first round. They would lose the first round. They'd lose first round. And I'll tell you this. Everyone's talking about how this offseason the Lakers are gonna get new players, they're gonna get at least a big superstar. People like Skip Bayless are talking about KD and Kyrie going to LA. People are mentioning Kemba Walker, Kawhi. Like, I like it, but I don't think anyone wants to play with the Lakers and specifically LeBron James. Now, before you get mad, I'm going to tell you why. Do you remember when Kobe was at the latter half of his career? He tried to do the super team thing with Dwight Howard and Steve Nash, and it was bad. It was horrible. They lost, and they lost a lot. People don't blame the transcendent superstar when his team starts losing. They never do that. When the superstar's team starts losing, they blame his supporting cast. When the Lakers were losing with that team, Kobe didn't get blamed. I'm not saying if he did. I don't know. I mean, you're up to interpret whether or not you think he deserved blame or not. But he never got it. Never got it. They blamed Dwight Howard. They blamed the great Steve Nash. Before anyone mentioned, hey, could Kobe Bryant have done this? Maybe things would have been better. That doesn't happen. The superstar never gets blamed. And we're seeing now LeBron at the latter half of his career. People don't want to play with him. Not because he's not a great player, but because the pressure of being ridiculed whenever you go to LA and you don't win. Because people are going to look at LeBron because that's LeBron James. Who is LeBron James? Because we already have this notion that LeBron James has always carried every single finals team to the finals that he's ever been a part of. We already have this notion. Whether it's true or not, this is a thing people think. That LeBron just carries teams to the finals. So the notion would be, if you play in the Lakers with LeBron, even if you're a KD type of player or a Kemba Walker type of player or a Kyrie type of player, if you're on the Lakers with LeBron, people know of your greatness, but you lose, your team loses, they'll say LeBron James's team is so bad that the greatness of LeBron James couldn't even carry them like to the finals. Couldn't even carry him to the playoffs. That's what they're saying now. That's what they're saying. LeBron James' team is so bad. His team is so horrible that he couldn't even carry him to the playoffs. And I mean, we all know that some other factors went into it, injuries and team drama, but that's what people are saying. I don't know, man. Y'all let me know how different how different the NBA is going to be this season without LeBron in the playoffs. People are really raving about that. I don't think it's going to, I mean, for anything, I think it should be a breath of fresh air. Especially like for people who are true fans of the game, I think it should be a breath of fresh air that LeBron is in the playoffs. Because it's opening the door to new talent being showed. That's what it's really doing. really the only people that should be mad are LeBron James fans. If you're a fan of the NBA and you're saying, "Oh man, LeBron James is not in the playoffs, it's going to be," no. You're still going to watch. You're still going to watch because now, like, this is one of the most diverse playoff brackets we've had in a long time. In a very long time. But yeah, man, that's who I got. I got Golden State coming out of the West. Of course they're going to beat who do they play? Detroit, whoever they play. I got Golden State coming out of the West. And if I had to put money on any team, I'd be biased and put it on the Celtics. Because okay, if I was being biased, I'd put on the Celtics. If I'm being realistic, because I have bets pending for that. I have bets pending for the Celtics making it to the finals. I probably shouldn't have taken them, but I'm not going to withdraw on them. But to be honest, like if I'm putting my money on a team without being biased to come out of the East, Toronto has to be up there, man. I really love Philly, and I really love Philly. I'm really rooting for Philly to play to the level of talent they have on their team because I feel like they have yet to do that. I feel like they have yet to play to the level that they could play at with the certain talent they have on their team because they have a lot of it. They have a lot of it. They have a bunch of talent. But yeah, man, playoffs start tomorrow. It should be a crazy one. It should be a crazy one. It should definitely be a crazy one. When's the first game? What's the first game? Anyone know the schedule? What's the first game? I don't know the first game. I think it starts tomorrow. I know it starts tomorrow at 1:30, but I don't know if I know the first game. But I do know this. People are going to be shocked by sleeper teams. Now, Denver, the thing is, I don't know about Denver, though. Y'all really love Denver. Here's the thing with Denver. They have no experience in a setting like this. None. They have no experience in a setting like this. You know what? Denver, they do what they do well. They beat teams in a single game well by moving the ball, by using their youth and their athleticism to cloud up and congest other teams' play style. They do that very well. But when you're playing in a series and a team has a chance to adjust to you, it's different. And if you don't have a backup plan, you can kiss everything goodbye. Everything goodbye. Again, this is another comparison to when Houston played Golden State in Game 7. Live by the 3, die by the 3. You cannot outshoot a team like Golden State. If you remember in the first half, Houston wasn't playing how they were playing in the first half like they were in the second half. You remember in the first half when Clint Capella was catching lobs, when PJ Tucker was getting like off-ball screens and backdoor layups, when Chris Paul and James Harden were getting to the rim. Them boys were getting to the rim. They were up at halftime. Well, not Chris Paul. Chris Paul was injured. But they were up at halftime. Chris Paul was injured. Excuse me. They were up. And what happens whenever they come back? They start jacking up threes. What? Who told you to do that? Did your coach tell you he was wrong? Who told you to do that? Like, man, you know what makes me, it also, people try to take this cop out if Chris Paul, well, you have some of the most decorated, like, individuals when it comes to covering basketball saying, oh, man, if Chris Paul was on the court, they would have won, and it would have been that easy. That easy. For Chris Paul being on the court, that easily they just win. Like, no. It becomes a different game as a whole. You can't say if Chris Paul's on the court, the Rockets win. You can say if Chris Paul was on the court, the Rockets, can get into their offense a little better. Can, play maybe a little deeper into the shot clock instead of like dribbling up, pass, screen, 3. They can get into their ball movement a little more. That's what they can do. It would be a completely different game. Defensively, they would have been better. Chris Paul's a good defender. Defensively, Houston would have played better if Chris Paul. That's the only definitive fact you can state. But I'm rambling. I'm rambling. A lot of stuff going on, man. Got OKC. They were struggling towards the end of the regular season, man. I got a few friends that are OKC fans, and they're just, oh man, we'll be all right. We'll be all right, man. Paul George, Russell Westbrook. Paul George, Russell Westbrook. All right, man. Like, man, that's a lot of weight still put on those two shoulders, honestly. Steven Adams better show up huge. They need Steven Adams to get boards, and they need him to set picks, and they need him to pass well. We'll see, man. Y'all like, comment, subscribe. Tell me who you think is going to come out of the East, come out of the West. Tell me, tell me what you think the future of LA is too. What's happening over there? Because it's getting really interesting. With Magic Johnson stepping down and Luke Walton, yeah. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little later. Off season, because stuff is going to start to get exposed. Who wants to play with LeBron? Why do they want to play with LeBron? Who doesn't want to play with LeBron, and why they don't want to play with him? The King's about to get tested. Y'all never heard this. Like, people don't want to. You can't be serious. You're saying people don't want to play with LeBron James? People don't want to play with LeBron. Yeah, people don't want. There's some superstars that don't want to play with LeBron James, and it's not just because he does. Personally, he does. They don't like him. He's one of the most likable dudes in the league. Like, LeBron James is the opposite of Russell Westbrook and Draymond Green. He's one of the most likable dudes in the league. People might not want to play with him because people might not want to handle that pressure. Like Paul George. People might not want to handle that pressure in LA. Y'all stay tuned.